Hey, it is an unstoppable day. It's your boy, Terrence, the Unstoppable Coach Leffridge, with another episode of the Unstoppable Story Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll give you a couple of seconds. Come on in, like, and share. Put your name in the comment section. Let us know where you're watching us from, and we'll be sure to shout you out throughout the conversation, as well as put information about any questions that you might have about today's show in the comment section. Now, as you can see from the background, mental health matters. This is the Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and we wanted to shed light on not just mental health, the health as a whole, but specifically how mental health affects the minority community. You know, there's a common phrase out there that when the rest of the world gets a sneeze or a cough, then the minority community gets a cold, gets fever, gets all types of things in extreme to what everyone else gets. And that's because of some of the deficiencies that are in our healthcare system, that some of the challenges that minority communities face all across the country and in different parts of the world as well, that allow us to not have access to everything we need in terms of healthcare, and really specifically when it comes to mental health challenges. You know, I grew up in a home where the adage was whatever happens in this house stays in this house. So we didn't really talk about those challenges. We really didn't talk about health outside of the home. And we surely didn't talk about any mental health challenges that we might have. So today on the Unstoppable Story Show, we are going to be talking about it. We're going to talk about it, and we've got a health professional with us here today that is going to allow us to really dig a little bit deeper into the subject matter. She is none other than Montrella Cowan, and she is the founder and CEO of Affinity Health Affairs, which inspires women and men like you to step into their greatness through her private psychotherapy practice and public speaking as a certified self-talk trainer. Y'all hear me? Self-talk trainer and a certified self-talk life coach. So we're going to talk about mental health, and especially we're going to discuss minority mental health awareness. So let's welcome to the Unstoppable Story Show, Montrella Cowan. Hey,
Thank you,
Montrella.
Terrence. Thank you. Hello.
How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
Oh, I'm unstoppable. You know what the
Yes.
show says, right?
Oh, yeah. That's what I
Oh,
love about you. Thanks for having me today.
thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us to talk about this subject that many of us that share our skin tone and our heritage
Yeah.
don't like to talk about. But
Yeah.
before we jump into that, I always believe in letting our guests really introduce themselves, because you can introduce yourself far better than any bio than me. So, Montrella, take about 30 seconds and let them know a little bit more about you and Affinity Health Affairs.
Sure. So, yes, the name of my company is Affinity Health Affairs. I am based in Washington, D.C., although I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I am a clinical social worker. So, a lot of people, you hear licensed therapists, and there's different types, different backgrounds, but I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And I'm committed to crushing the barriers to mental health, especially for people of color. I'm a mother, as well as I love dancing and exercising and taking good care of myself, and that's about it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, she told me that she was kind of introverted, but we still gonna talk about that because this she is busting through with personality, with
Oh,
creativity,
bless you.
and with compassion. And that's definitely what we need when we talk about this thing
Yeah.
called mental health, and specifically minority mental health. Now, through the course of this conversation, I'm going to throw out some statistics, and Montrella, feel free to throw out some of your statistics because I'm sure they're probably a little bit more up to date than what I was able to find. But let's talk about mental health. How do you define it? And then let's talk about minority mental health. What's the distinction between those
Mm.
two? And why is it so important that we have this minority mental health awareness month?
Yes, that's a great question. So, and I love to start with the definition because, you know, it was, I think, in Ghana, my first trip to the motherland, Africa, it was Ghana. And I would come out every day and people would be like, "You look so smart." And like, I wear glasses just like you, Terrence. And I was like, nobody ever says that in the States. What do they mean? I look smart. Well, I later found out that smart actually meant beautiful or nice. So I want to define mental health because, you know, with all these hashtags nowadays, people are kind of throwing the word around very loosely. You have a lot of people speaking on mental health who aren't really skilled in that. So, mental health, one of the definitions is just being able to manage one's emotions. And that means like if you are feeling sad, if you are feeling angry, if you are feeling happy. So sometimes traumas in our life will have us that it is even difficult for us to be happy. Or if we are happy, we will sabotage that. So being able to respond to one's emotions. I know a lot of us remember the slap heard across the world by Mr. Will Smith, who I actually love, but that was probably not the best way to manage one's emotions, particularly if it can cost you your freedom. And as a people of
Right.
color, we really value our freedom, right? So that's one definition. Another definition, and then let me go back to that. So respond versus react, because responding requires us to think, whereas reacting, any kind of trigger words, and we're in a very triggering environment right now with post COVID and all of this stuff going on, mass shootings. There's a lot of things that can get us triggered, but we don't want to be reactionary. We want to be able to respond. So that's one definition of mental health. Another one is just really being able to experience any emotions. Like a lot of my clients, they'll come. Typically, they're going through some crisis situation, whether it's personal, family, career related. And they're like, well, how do I just like get past this? They literally want to turn their emotions on like we do a light switch off and on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm like, oh no, that's what distinguishes us from animals. We want to feel. Think about it. Even movements like Juneteenth, if enough people didn't get angry, there would not have been a change. A lot of anger has caused mass movements for the better. So
Yes.
anger is not something, I know we don't want to be attached to mad black woman or angry black man, but anger is one of the emotions. And being able to experience anger, sadness, happiness, the variety of emotions is a sign of mental health.
I love how you bring that into everyday common situations because every emotion determines the health of you as a person,
Mm,
whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're anxious, whether you're carefree. All of that affects your mental health, which in turn affects your physical health. You know,
mm,
you talked about the people who said you look so smart, and
mm.
maybe they didn't have the phraseology to really say what they wanted to say, but they probably saw the glow on your
Yeah, they
on
were
your on
talking
your
about
aura.
beauty. They were using the
Hmm.
word smart like we use beauty. So that's how I'm
Yes.
saying it is important to define because we could be literally using the same word but mean different things. Yeah.
Absolutely. But they could see, the only way they came up with that impression is they could see it on you. It
Yeah.
was
Mhm.
exuding from you.
Yes,
And
yes.
our mental health shows up in the way we look. It shows up in the way we react to people. It shows up in the way we react to ourselves on a daily basis. So
Mhm.
being able to bring it back to those common situations about, oh, I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm overwhelmed, which are three adjectives that we've probably heard a lot of over the past couple of years
Mhm.
going through this pandemic.
Yes.
It's important for us to be real about what our mental health is
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
speak on it.
Yes.
So let's jump into that topic. What's the distinction between mental health and what we're seeing with minority mental health? Why
Oh,
is it,
yeah.
why are we having to bring that awareness and make that distinction?
Oh boy, that's very important. You know, like they say, there's not a one size fits all. And there's facts such as Black people experience psychological distress at least 20% more often than our white counterparts. So that's just one example of why we need to give attention to our mental health. Also, there's a history. There's a history of overdiagnosis, unfortunately, misdiagnosis. So there's a lot of trust issues when it comes to the communities of color, particularly Black communities. And so that's all valid. But at the same time, we want to start to make mental health a priority because we all are here for a purpose. A lot of us in our culture, we think we could just pray it away when we
Yeah.
are struggling. And, thank God, and I work with a lot of faith leaders and I speak at churches on mental health and things like that. You know, more pastors and leaders, spiritual leaders are coming out, faith leaders are coming out collaborating with mental health professionals like myself because they can't do it all. But some people want to take everything to their pastor, they want to pray it away, and they don't want to address it. And then we have this stigma, the stigma that I'm weak if I reach out for help.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier too about like we don't tell our business, especially to no stranger, right?
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know? And there's a fact that 87% of therapists are actually white. So that leaves a smaller percentage of therapists of color and an even smaller percentage of Black therapists, such as myself. But we
Absolutely.
are here. So there's
Yeah.
a number of reasons why we want to dedicate an entire month. And really, I want you to dedicate every day, 365 days to your mental health, ladies and gentlemen, because without this, it's going to be hard for us to fulfill our purpose, raise our children, be great partners, and do all the wonderful things you are here to do in this lifetime.
I'm sure you'll love this. One of our mentors, he says it this way:
Mhm.
wherever you are in life, your mind got there first.
Yes.
Conversely, wherever you are not in life
Mhm.
is
Yes.
because your mind hasn't found its
Oh,
way there.
yes.
And
Yes.
that's that mental health block. If your
Yes.
mind can't see past
Absolutely.
the stigma, if your mind
Yes.
can't see past the embarrassment, if your mind can't see past the problem into looking into the resolution, then you'll never get to what we call healthy
Mm,
mental status versus
right.
what we tend to focus on, which is the degradation of our mental health.
Yes.
You
Yes.
mentioned something when you threw out that statistic: 87% of therapists are white versus the other 13% that are of different colors and different backgrounds.
Mhm.
I want to throw out this phrase: you can't be what you've never seen. And
Mhm.
conversely, because we've never seen a lot of Montrellas out there,
Mhm.
we have had that hesitation to go talk to someone because they don't look like us and they
Yes.
can't understand our problems. In
Yes.
your practice, and you can tell us how long you've been practicing, have you found that same stigma when they do see someone that looks like you, or is it a little different?
What stigma?
The stigma of still not wanting to talk to someone about their issues because even though you may look like us, it's still
Mhm.
there's so few of you that they
Yeah.
can't really trust
I
that you
got you. Oh,
understand.
that's a wonderful question. I always say that therapy and finding a therapist is kind of like dating. And
Mm,
you do want to find a good match. Now, many of my clients, and I work with clients from different races, ethnicities, the majority being Black. However, so a lot of them, they either pray, they're specifically seeking, because you can call up your insurance company and say, I want a Black woman nowadays,
mhm.
and they have to do their best to accommodate that. So some of them seek me out specifically because I'm Black and I'm a woman. And that
Okay.
could be men and that can be women. But yes, just trust in general, sharing with a stranger. Many of my clients start out extremely nervous, but that's the thing about seeking help from an objective perspective. Because a lot of us are trying to play therapists with our partners, with our children, with our parents, and we need to stop doing that. Like,
Yeah.
even as a therapist, I don't go doing therapy with my family. Okay. And
Mhm.
I'm from Brooklyn, New York. So trust me, we got some stuff. We got some stuff. I don't do that, because it wouldn't be objective, right? So part of reaching out for help is having that objective perspective, someone who's not emotionally attached and things like that. Of course, I want, what's best for my clients, but I can work with couples because I'm not taking sides and things like that, for example. And so that objective perspective is very important. And then trust, yeah, you're going to be nervous sometimes. You are going to, it takes time sometimes to build the trust. And a therapeutic relationship is like any other relationship. Trust comes with communication and, making sure that you're being validated. If you're going to a therapist and you're feeling judged, because a lot of for example, faith-based therapists, they may come off judgmental, critical, that kind of thing. It's like, then I would recommend that you might, look for someone else because it may not be a good fit or match.
That's a good distinction, because it's important for people to realize that your profession is a profession where you're trained to be objective in those situations, whereas the preacher slash counselor slash therapist slash all the other hats they wear throughout
Right.
the course of the week.
Yeah.
They may not have the ability to do that
Right.
because
No.
they're closer to that situation. But
Yes.
what's some other reasons why, especially people who are having mental challenges in the minority community, why they should reach out to someone like you, a licensed therapist, or someone within the counseling or therapy industry?
Well, the bottom line is, in order for us, freeing our mind is what we want to do. We just not too long ago celebrated Juneteenth, and we have to free our minds from the shackles of the past traumas. And it's true, some of us are still experiencing the effects of slavery, actually.
Yeah.
And so until, I always say that healing starts inside out. So freeing your mind is the way to happiness, fulfillment, and success. And you mentioned earlier how we can't even, have access to, for example, wealth and abundance if we haven't dealt with a lot of past traumas. If you're depressed, what you think your business is going to look like?
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
business will be depressed. That income will be depressed. Those client engagements will be depressed. So you always want to start with your healing inside out because, even this year alone, look, Miss USA committed suicide. Regina King's son committed suicide. So, if we only looked like what we've been through, so
Yeah.
we know how to wax it on. And as people of color, we have to look, we can't take a mental, well, at least we don't think we could take a mental health day. We can't afford it. We got to go out there and hustle and do our jobs and all of that. And so we put ourselves last quite often. And a lot of times we work 2 or 3 times harder than our counterparts as well. And we feel like if we take a day off, the building's going to fall in. And that's not the case. So we
And
want
you
to prioritize that.
and I love that part. And we're going to put a pin right there because we
Okay.
want to come back and go a little bit deeper, especially with that, talking about the financial disparities that really don't allow many minorities to even seek out the counseling or the
Yes.
therapy. And then we'll talk about some other things, some other tips that you want to give to us to
Sure.
help us not only be aware during this Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, but to actually things that they can walk away with today to help improve their mental health. So
Absolutely.
can you stay around for a little bit for
Oh,
that?
of course. I'm with you, Mr. Unstoppable.
All right. I love that. We are talking to Montrella Cowan here on Unstoppable Story Show. It is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're discussing minority mental health. But here's what I want you to know. We also work with up and coming speakers. You have a message. You might be trying to create a movement. Maybe your message is to bring awareness to the mental health arena as well, but you just don't know how to get it out there. Well, we've got something for you. Check this out.
How you doing? My name is James Griffin, and I attended the Becoming the Best You speaker class hosted by Brenda Ringwood. and Terrence Lethbridge, Anthony Russo, and I can say that class was amazing. That class provided me with flavor. I was trying to find my voice, and that class provided space for me to find exactly how I can communicate my message in a way that hits the hearts of the people. So I recommend that class to anybody who's looking to find their voice, who's looking to find their flavor.
Yes, yes, yes. So if you are looking to find your voice and to find your flavor, then we want you to come and join us for our next 8-week Speaker Academy. It is the Becoming the Best Speaker You Can Be Mastermind Academy, an 8-week course taught by myself, Mr. Unstoppable, Coach T, and a couple of other fantastic speakers from across the country. We're going to give you the tools, the techniques, and the tips to help you become the best speaker you can be. So if you want more information about that, then you can simply go on over to our website. The website for Becoming the Best Speaker You Can Be website is going across the screen below, btbspeaker.com. btbspeaker.com. Our fall session is starting real soon, so go on over and sign up. And who knows, by the time the end of this year comes, you will be the best speaker that you can be. All right, let's get back into our conversation. We've got Montrella Cowan here, CEO of Affinity. I want to make sure I am saying it right before I fumble over my words here. There it is. There it is. There it is. Put it right there on the screen. So tell us, why did you name your company Affinity? You love that word for a reason.
Yeah, Affinity Health Affairs, because it means love, Terrence. I done slipped it in there. So really it's love, health affairs, affinity. And a lot of people at my church, we have the groups, affinity groups. So it's just likeness and love.
So you have love for your clients, you have love for your community, and you want them to have an affinity for the services that you provide as well, right?
I want them to have an affinity for life, and I want them to feel so good that they're able to step into their greatness, because, we each have a divine purpose, Terrence, and I can't fulfill yours and you can't fulfill mine. The Bible actually talks about in 2 Timothy that we are not made of fear. We are made of power, love, and sound mind. Now, what happens is that things happen.
Yeah.
Incidents happen. Trauma happen. And so we kind of go off track of what we were made of. And so it's important that we do this work, make mental health a priority so that we can get back to who we are and who we're made of.
I love it. Yeah, she says she was introverted. Yeah, I still not believing. But let's pick back up where we left off before that commercial break.
Yes.
There are a number of disparities between mental health overall and minority mental health.
Yes.
And one of those key disparities that probably in your practice you hear come up first, second, third, and fourth is the financial disparity. That common person that says, I can't afford to put food on my table. How can I afford to pay you to talk about my mental health challenges?
Yes.
Tell me about that scenario. How often do you see that? How do you deal with that?
Yes. Well, there are several myths in our community when it comes to mental health, and absolutely it's too expensive is one of them. And I do consider that a myth. And why is that? Because no matter where you are in terms of income, mental health is available for you. For lower income people, we have medical assistance, aka Medicaid, in each state, that you will have access to mental health providers. In fact, in the District of Columbia, I ran the biggest mental health provider in the District of Columbia. And we had thousands of clients who were all lower income. So that's that first sort of category. Now, I work typically with people who are working or business owners who have insurance. So that's another thing. You can use that insurance that you're paying them premiums every pay period anyway for your mental health. Now, sometimes there's no copayment for your mental health. So as you're going through and deciding on which plan you want to choose, that might be something to consider. But there may be a copayment. But I can assure you this: it's not more than your weekly Starbucks tab. Okay. I know we spend money on purses, which is the name of my first book. We spend money on them red bottoms. We spend money on what we want. And, a wise person once said, when we were asking, well, how come, how can you afford it? It's like, how can you not? Like, it's too
Yes.
expensive. It's too expensive not to address your mental health. It can be quite costly. A lot of people are struggling, Terrence, especially nowadays in the workplace. That's why we got this quote unquote great resignation going on. A lot of people were unhappy. COVID brought a lot of things to the forefront. In career, dissatisfaction is definitely one of them. And it's one that a lot of my clients, as soon as they start to do this work, they start to improve, they get promotions, or they find better opportunities. But again, if you are, the thing about life, Terrence, and as an unstoppable maverick that you are, I know that you know this. Terrence, no one's going to pay us. No one's going to love us. No one is going to treat us better or more than we do for ourselves. So the self-esteem and the confidence is huge. And so these are the kinds of things that we can work on. Now let's take, because Montrella is very practical, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't want you to think, oh yeah, there you go, blah, blah, blah. I've been through some stuff. I already mentioned I was from Brooklyn, New York. Okay. It's gentrified. It's going through gentrification right now, but I'm talking about the hood. Right. And so I had government cheese. I've been on welfare and things like that, even to take care of my own children at one point. But Montrella's also been through some trauma. I was raped at 14 years old. And then I had a child, my first daughter, at 15 by the man who raped me. So I'm not just speaking like, it's like, I'm not talking Pollyanna. I'm talking real. Now, the thing about trauma, going back to self-esteem and confidence and how no one's going to treat you better than you see yourself. The thing about trauma is that it will make you believe lies. It'll make you believe things that are not true about you. So I thought I was a victim, and I was, but I decided that I don't want to be a victim anymore when I started to get on my healing journey and get through that. I felt undeserving. So I had a bunch of toxic relationships after that incident. I felt unworthy, unlovable, all of those things. So we want to do the work, take care of our mental health, get through the trauma, not on our own, but with someone such as a licensed professional, so that we can be free, so that we can return to our greatness, so that we can feel so good about ourselves, we can go in and demand our fair share without equal pay and those promotions and other opportunities, because we're already doing the work. There's no doubt in my mind. We are already doing the work. So now it's time to demand what we deserve. But if you don't believe you deserve it, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. There's levels to this thing. The mental health determines the physical health, and the physical health determines the emotional health, and the emotional health determines the financial health. So there's levels to all these things. And if you don't start at the first level, if you don't start working on addressing the mental health issues that are in your life, it's going to have that ripple effect, that domino effect.
Oh, yes.
They say that what you do in one aspect of your life shows up in every
absolutely
aspect of your life.
Yeah.
So there's no way you can go to that 9 to 5 or that 10 to 10 or that 12 to 12 and leave that mental health issue outside of the door. At some point, it's going to bubble over into what you're doing in that workforce. And then we have all the news stories that we see because the Coke bottle got shooken up too much and the top just popped off.
Yes, I like how you put that, but that is real.
And so many times we've been told in our history to just lock it down, keep it inside. And then that's where we see the heart attacks. That's where we see the strokes. That's where we see the aneurysms.
High cholesterol.
The high cholesterol. Yes. All of that. Because again, what isn't taken care of here
Yeah,
is
it's going to
going to show
manifest.
up everywhere
Absolutely.
else. So
Absolutely. And speaking of that, I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of workplaces are feeling the impact of people's mental health. Their employees are really struggling. So there's a lot of mental wellness programs. So going back to how you pay for it, there's also, and I'm a certified employee assistance professional, but there are also EAP in the
mhm,
workplace. And that's
mhm,
a federal mandate. So most organizations, and the nice thing about EAP, you don't have to be on my insurance. If you live in my household, you can take advantage. That could be a friend, a family, a partner. Anyone will have access. And I've seen anywhere from 2 free sessions with a licensed professional like myself up to 10. And that's per issue, ladies and gentlemen. So you can start out with career issue, then marital issue. And you can really, so that's another way.
right.
I
You
ain't
come
say
with your
help
laundry
your
list of
sister,
issues.
but that's free access to therapy. So I don't want to hear that excuse. That's a myth. We can afford it. The question is, how can we not afford it? Like,
Yes.
we have to do this. It is worth the investment rather than trying to buy a cup of coffee to help us get through the day. Why don't you take care of your mental health? And that'll help you get through the year.
Absolutely. I love how you said that. And because many people are buying that cup of coffee in the morning or buying
Mhm.
that other cup of that other thing in the
Yes.
evening to get through
Yeah.
with it,
A
get to
lot of
deal
us
with
are
it.
coping in very unhealthy ways. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before the pandemic, there were
Mhm.
people that would run away from their issues by going to work. They would
Mhm.
work so much that they didn't have time to deal with
Yes.
their
It's a good
issues.
distraction. Yes.
And then the pandemic came and
Yes.
everybody had to
Mhm.
shelter in place and they were on
Mhm.
lockdown and they were on
Yes.
physical lockdown as well as mental lockdown.
Yes.
So we saw the breakups of relationships. We saw
Yes.
that people who
Oh,
had
yeah.
been together for years, they were
Mhm.
able to be together for years because they were
Yes.
barely with each other. But when they had to be with each other,
Yes.
they
Stuck.
found out some yeah, they found out some things.
Yes,
So
that's true.
what are you doing in your practice and what do you see the industry doing as a whole to bring greater awareness to minority mental health, to get these, to remind them of the resources that are already out there and to give them access to maybe resources they're not aware of? How do you do that in your practice and how are you seeing the industry respond to the need for that?
Well, the good thing is that, even for us to have this discussion today on the Unstoppable podcast is just beautiful because it is starting to make the agenda. And I'm very, very thankful for that. A lot of people are inviting mental health professionals into their spheres of influence. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what I would encourage you to do. So that could be a church congregation, that could be, a career industry. You can invite mental health professionals to talk about mental wellness. So, Terrence, one of the ways I do it through my practice is I do a lot of speaking. Like I'm speaking tomorrow. I, I'm speaking, at the end of the month. I speak quite often on mental health, even in business conferences and things like that. Some of us, like Dr. Delataro, has a mental health panel,
Yeah.
which is very special. So we just have to keep putting it on the agenda and getting the word out. Another thing I do, another resource that I provide free to the community is my blog. So in my blogs, you can read about different tools and other resources to help you navigate mental health challenges. So that's two of the ways. And of
Well,
course,
that
I mean,
that's
every day we are
yeah,
observers. Mhm,
every day there's new challenges,
mhm,
new levels, new devils. So
mhm.
everybody, I tell everybody, especially when we talk about COVID, that nobody got out of this. Nobody's getting out of this untouched.
Right, that's
The
true.
question is how you're going to get touched. You're either
Oh
going to get
yeah.
touched
Mhm.
negatively
Right.
or you're going to get touched positively.
Absolutely.
There are
Yes.
people that have found their fortunes as a result
Oh,
of this
absolutely.
pandemic.
Every crisis. Yeah.
But then there are those people that who were on the edge of the
Mhm.
ledge
Yeah.
before the pandemic. The
Yes.
pandemic was the push that
Yes.
pushed them over
Yeah,
into the fall.
unfortunately. Yeah.
So we definitely need to take this time where the world was able to stop, to pause and pivot for a second
Yeah.
and change our focus.
Yes.
Change our focus in a lot of
Yes.
different ways, but really to
Yes.
start focusing more on the mental health, because if
Yes.
your mental health is strong, then every other aspect of health in your life can be strong as well.
Yes. And
So
for those of you like college age, you might consider working in this profession. Another way that Affinity Health Affairs contribute to the community and spread awareness on minority mental health is we host interns. So I have partnerships with universities around the country, and I host these interns. That's my way to pay it forward. And I'm pouring into that next generation of social workers so that they're competent and not burnt out even before they graduate. So showing them how to pour into themselves while being of service to others. So
that's
consider this as a profession.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Shout out to all of our therapists, all of our social
Thank
workers,
you.
all our social
Oh.
service organizations. I used to be in that industry for
Mm.
over 15
Oh
years, so
wow.
I
Oh, no wonder.
understand.
Yes.
Yeah, I have an intimate understanding of
Yes.
the social services and the inherent mental health issues, the
Yes.
underlying issues
Yes.
that are there. Many of the health issues we only hear about till something drastic or
Big, pricey.
catastrophic happens,
Yeah.
but we talk about all the simmering pots that are
Mm.
out there
That's right.
where it hasn't got to
Yes.
boil yet, but
Little irritants. It
yeah,
builds up.
yeah,
Yes. Pent up
yeah. So
emotions is real. Mm.
I love what you're doing in the industry,
Thank
but you're not just a therapist, you're also an author.
you. Oh
So talk a little bit about
yeah.
what else you do, because we don't want to make it seem like this is all that is to Montrella.
Well,
So
that's
tell us about some of your books.
yeah. Well, even with my books, I'm always bringing in mental health. Okay, so I was part of an anthology called Game On: Leaders Who Last, and it's for business people, it's for leaders, and my chapter is committed to mental health, and we just made USA Today bestseller.
Woohoo!
So I am officially a USA Today bestseller. But that's exciting because I'm getting, I'm able to contribute to, in my own way. So the platform is mental health, Terrence, in everything
Absolutely.
that I do. Another one of my books, especially for those struggling in relationships or who may have experienced some kind of sexual trauma or anything like that, and just really battling, with family and struggling with like depression or anxiety, you want to pick up a copy of my book called The Purse, An Essential Guide to Healthy Relationships. I'm very practical in my approach. I like to give clients tools that they can actually use, just like you use an umbrella for the rain. So you're not going to hear my trying to get all theoretical, blah, blah, blah. I want you to have something practical that you can actually use that can make a difference in the next conversation that you have with your disgruntled loved one. Okay. And
Wow.
so that book provides actual recipes and ingredients to, get through, to navigate, to create and maintain healthy relationships.
Well, that is great. And so she is the total package, you guys. She not only talks about it, she writes about it. So if
Yes.
you want to get more information on how you can really get into understanding mental health, and especially minority mental health, then you definitely need to reach out to Montrella
Yes.
Cowan.
And in fact, what I'd like to do is offer your listeners a free book. All they have to do is
Oh,
email me with the word subject line unstoppable, and I will send you a free
wow.
copy of my book. Yep.
All
Right
right. Well,
into
see,
email.
we love free. We definitely love free. The
Yeah.
minority community loves free. So there is the email on the bottom of the
Yes.
screen,
Yes.
Montrella at
Yes.
affinity411.com. But now you've got to make sure that you put in the subject line unstoppable. Now, Montrella, we spell unstoppable completely different than the
I
rest of the
see that.
world.
I
So
love it.
let's make sure that they understand that you've got to spell the word the right way. Otherwise, Montrella
No,
gonna
either
charge
way.
you for that
Either
book.
way.
So
Either way.
it is
Unstoppable or yeah.
UnStop capital ABLE. Because like Montrella said earlier, you know what? You are able
Mhm.
to manage your emotions.
Yeah.
That's when you have good mental health. The key
Yeah.
is being able to
Yeah.
do that. And
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, here at the Unstoppable Story Show, we believe that when you focus more on what you're able to
Mm.
do and less this is what's stopping you, then that's when you become unstoppable. So
Amen.
go ahead and get this free gift from Montrella Cohen so that you can focus more on what you're able to do to
Yeah.
improve your mental health.
Yes.
Well, Montrella, it has been a pleasure having you on the show. I want to give you the final thoughts regarding minority mental health as
Yes.
a whole, or
Yeah.
if you want to give more information on how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank each and everyone for taking time to listen. And I hope that this resonated with some of you. I hope that you found it useful and a valuable way to spend your time. Listen, mental health in the minority community is critical. Let's make it a priority. Like I mentioned earlier, suicide is the second leading cause of death for those in our country ages 10 to 34 years old. In the African American community, suicide is the third leading cause of death for those 15 to 24 years old. Black men are four times more likely to die by suicide than Black women. So there's an urgency, and my request of you is to make your mental health a priority, because that's the best thing you can do is model healthy self-care practices and behavior for your loved ones. That is how they will decide to reach out, by you modeling it.
I love it. This is Montrella Cowan, CEO of Affinity Health Affairs. You can reach out to her. Her number is on the screen, her email is on the screen, as well as the website. So you can get more information, and you can put in the subject line when you send that email, Unstoppable, and you can get your free gift.
Yes.
Montrella, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the Unstoppable Story Show, and you are welcome to come back at any
Thank
time.
you. And Terrence, I just want to take a moment to commend you, my brother, for helping people to remember who they are, to recognize that they're great, and to, helping them to bring down all those barriers to being unstoppable. So bless you for your work, your service, and your commitment.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. We all are givers, and we all believe in service, and service is the rent that we pay for the privilege to walk this earth, the
Amen.
privilege to be amongst all these phenomenal people like yourself. So
Thank you.
I'm
Yes.
doing my part to get
Yes.
the message out there, to continue the discussion
Yes.
about Minority Mental
Thank you.
Health Awareness Month. And I want to leave you guys with this: mental health is part of loving yourself. If you love your mental health, you love yourself. And there's a quote that says, self love is the best love. While you're on the path to becoming the best version of yourself each and every day, take some time each and every day to focus on your mental health. Because when you start loving your mental health, you'll start loving your physical health. Your emotions will start to show up in a positive way, and you'll have that glow just like our guest has on the screen today, because you know that you're focusing on the things that you're able to do instead of those things that are stopping you. That's our show today. Thank you for being a part of the Unstoppable Stories Show, where we talk to ordinary people with unstoppable stories. Hey, we've got an upcoming event I want to tell you about real quick. It's the Becoming the Best You virtual event. We're going to be talking about mental health on that 2-day event, as well as other things to help you become the best version of yourself that you can become from a mental, physical, emotional, financial standpoint. We'll have 3 days of phenomenal speakers from all across the country and all across the globe coming on to help you learn how you can become the best you possible. Go on over to our website. It's just $19 to attend. The website is comechangeyourlife.com. Comechangeyourlife.com. $19, and you will be on your way to becoming the best you possible. And if you're a speaker who's watching the show and you're looking for an outlet to help people learn how they can become the best version of themselves with your expertise and your information, then reach out to me, because we do have some speaker slots available for that event as well. You can go to the same website, comechangeyourlife.com for the Becoming the Best You virtual conference, August 26th through the 28th. Don't meet me there. I want you to beat me there. And as always, wherever you are in the world today, you know what I say. Don't just make it a great day. Focus on their mental health, and you'll be sure to make it an unstoppable day. Take care.